Happy birthday, Uncle Bug. Yesterday was my Uncle Fernando's birthday, and I'd already made a video and uploaded it and stuff. And I just figured I'd make it today, So happy belated birthday, Uncle Fernando. My Uncle Fernando was probably one of the few people that really understood me growing up. He had a lot of siblings and stuff, and one of his brothers, I think I had the same personality as one of his brothers, so he kind of understood that eventually Tony's gonna grow out of this and all the trouble I was getting into and stuff. And he really got me. He lived right around the corner from me, so I spent a lot of my time over there, especially during the summer. They had a pool, and I remember going over there all the time. And during the springtime, or I don't know, I guess midsummer, he had all these peach trees, those big white peaches. All of us, cousins and stuff, we'd all get together and go over there and pick peaches and, go swimming and stuff. And he'd always have me come over and dig holes in the backyard for trees that were never actually going to get planted. He just had me come over and burn off some energy, digging a bunch of holes, and he'd fill them in when I left, I guess. I don't know. Every time I came back, there was never a tree in that hole. He also was the one that got me into shooting, very early age. I remember the first Christmas, my first BB gun. That Christmas, my aunt had bought him a box of shotgun shells, and she gives them to my Uncle Fern, and he's like, "Oh, D, these don't fit my shotgun." And she's like, "Well, what do we got back here?" And she pulls out another box, and it was a Remington 870. The firearm I grew up shooting was that Remington 870. Me and my uncle used to go to the desert all the time on the weekends, and after Christmas, we actually had a family tradition where we would the day after Christmas, a bunch of us, his brothers and their sons and their nephews and stuff, we'd all go camping out in the desert from, day after Christmas through New Year's. I'm assuming that's when they all had time off work. And my aunt actually, this same year that she got him that Remington 870, got me my first BB gun, and she pulled the same stunt with me. She gave me a box of BBs for a BB gun I didn't have. And then she pulls out another box, and it was my BB gun. And my mom obviously wasn't too happy about it. My mom wasn't big on firearms, and she wanted me to keep it at their house. And I fought tooth and nail to be able to bring it home. And I shot the crap out of that BB gun. I shot that thing every single day for years. And yeah, like I said, he was one of the few people that really understood me. I was always getting in trouble at school and getting in fights and stuff with my mom, and he was always reassured, "Don't worry, he's gonna grow out of it. He'll grow out of it." And it took longer than I think he thought, but I did eventually grow out of it. He was a great man. He was awesome uncle to have, living so close. Like I said, he was one of the few people that understood me, so I could always go over there, when I was getting in trouble at home or needed to burn off some steam. Another story, I can go on and on about stories. I remember one year, I think it was around Christmas time, maybe. It was cold outside. They had a pool, and I was bugging him to go swimming. And he was like, he's one of the, let him learn the hard way kind of guys. So he's like, "All right, you want to go swimming? Go for it." Put me in that pool in middle of winter, and I jumped out as quick as I could. And that was, one of those lessons you got to learn the hard way. We call him Uncle Bug because he's been, after Vietnam, he is a veteran. So after Vietnam, he became an exterminator, and for like 30, 40 years, I think he might still be doing it. I'm not sure. I think he's retired now. But was an exterminator for all those years, and any one of his clients would tell you the same thing about how great of a person he was. You know, he worked for the same company for a really long time, and you build a rapport with your clients. You know, they know you by name, they have your personal phone number. I remember every year around the holidays, he'd come home with bottles of champagne and boxes of cookies and stuff that all of his clients would give him, you know. And there's a certain point in the company sold off, and they were hiring off all the old guard. And when all these people found out that he wasn't there anymore, they were like, well, screw that, and they canceled their subscription or whatever, however it works, to that exterminating company, and called him personally and said, hey, I still need my bugs killed. Uncle Fernando was like, all right, back of my pickup truck, my S10. Turns out a lot of the chemicals and stuff they use aren't fancy. It's just knowing where to put them and when to put them, and there's more strategy to it, I guess, than the actual chemicals they use. So any of you out there that have an exterminating service that comes to your house, you can get all the stuff at Home Depot apparently, and just do it the right way. So that's what he did. And he was like, all right. So he charged them a fair amount and show up in his pickup truck, and just kind of did it on his own for the last couple years, or last maybe 10 or 15 years, I think now at this point. Like I said, I'm not sure if he's still doing it. He might just be retired at this point. But I owe him a lot of thanks. Like I said, he was always the one that was reassuring my mom that it was going to be okay, and that I would grow out of it and I'd figure it out. And every time I fell, he was there to pick me back up and reassure everyone, he'll get over it. He'll grow up. He's a good kid. He has a good heart. I remember him always talking about, you know, on the way to the desert, I'd be looking out the window, just dazing off, daydreaming for the hours, you know, us driving to the desert. We would go shooting, oh man, during, when it wasn't too cold. The desert is really cold during the winter. People don't think deserts are always hot, but they get real cold. And when it was warm enough in acclimate temperatures, we'd go shooting almost every weekend. And he would take me out there, 2-hour drive. We'd go out there, stay a couple nights. In the back of his, he had an old like F-250 diesel truck with a camper shell on it. And man, I can go on and on in stories about him. He had one of those Honda Spree like scooters, you know. Now they're like super retro, but you know, 30 years ago, they weren't so retro. And he'd gotten one of those from one of his clients, actually. They had 2 of them. And they were like, you know what? You think you can use them? Take them. And they are not designed for riding around in the desert. They are not designed for off-road use. But I rode those things non-stop. I was on those things. We'd go out to the desert, and I was always riding until eventually I got my own dirt bike. And then I started taking my dirt bikes with me when we'd go to the desert. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here and, you know, say happy belated birthday. Just tell a few stories about my Uncle Fernando and how great of a man he was. And yeah, I love you, Uncle Fernando. I appreciate you always being there for me, and I appreciate you always reassuring my mom that I'd eventually grow out of it. Sorry it took me so long to kind of get my shit together, but what can I say? I mean, we all got to change at some point. So I love you, and happy birthday.